Hello, Park Avenue Church of Christ. We're here to discuss episode 5 of The Chosen. I'm Todd Cateau, and with me is Cina Cateau. Cina is my daughter, of course, and also part of the team here, our creative genius, our graphic designer. And so episode 5, last night we watched in the ark. There were 3 kind of scenes or stories that were developing in episode 5. One, Jesus at the temple. When he was 12 years old, the only account we have of Jesus when he was a child outside of the birth narratives. We have the storyline of John the Baptist. He becomes a little bit more a character in The Chosen, and Nicodemus comes to visit John the Baptist. But then the primary focus of episode 5 was Jesus' first miracle, where Jesus goes public at the wedding feast at Cana and turns the water into wine. And so I think it was the best episode yet. And if you're not there, Wednesday nights, 6:30, man, you're missing out. Or you can watch it at home also. But there's great joy in watching it together. But honestly, I hadn't seen but one episode before this, and I was a little skeptical of it. But I'm just blown away last night. It was a great episode. Just any overall reactions that you had to last night's episode?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think it's just so neat to see Jesus in all these different circumstances, and also to see what it would have been like for the disciples following him. And you see there's a lot of uncertainty, what are we really doing, and just
they don't know what they're doing.
Following Jesus around and watching. When we read the Gospels and think of Jesus, we don't always think of what were the disciples doing at that time and how were they feeling, but they were just watching and learning. And I love how Peter talks about how that's how they learned how to fish. Their dad just took them out in the boat and they just watched him, and then they tried to do it themselves, and they made their own mistakes, but just that watching and being with Jesus in the different things that he does was such an important part of their learning experience.
Just follow me, watch me, and see how I do it, and we see that's how they carry on the ministry. Peter's personality is developing a little bit in this episode also. I forget the exact wording in the episode, but he's kind of giving Jesus pointers at one point. We should do this, do that, and we're going to see that comes out later on in Peter's in the Gospels as well. I will just Jesus at the temple. One thing that really impressed me there is, Mary, of course, was very worried. He's been missing for 3 days. She comes back to Jerusalem, and Mary and Jesus just kind of look at each other in the eye, and Mary is, this is starting already. And then she says something to the effect, you're going to have to help us through this.
Yeah.
I really felt for Mary.
Yeah. It's like she knows there's something special about Jesus, and she wants that and is so overjoyed that he's doing that. But at the same time, it's really difficult for her to have this teenage boy that's running away. So it's like when Jesus is doing something that's a little bit uncomfortable for us, how can we be joyful for that, but also be like, God, you have to help me through this, because this is not what's comfortable for me or what I was expecting, or I wasn't quite ready for this yet. But she just seems so ready to be like, okay, Jesus, you help me with this, and we're going to make it.
We're going to do this together. John the Baptist is in prison during this episode. Nicodemus, and this is also a story that's not included in the Gospels, and a lot of this is trying just to recreate what the culture would have been like and try to bring us into the story. And this is one of those episodes. We know that John the Baptist was imprisoned. We know that Nicodemus was curious. He comes to Jesus later on, but even before he comes to Jesus and The Chosen, he comes and he's kind of quizzing John the Baptist on what's going on. So I don't know, what did you think about that interaction with John the Baptist?
Yeah, I mean, John the Baptist seems to be on a very different level than Nicodemus.
Totally different characters. Nicodemus is very put together. John the Baptist is kind of a wild man. I actually like the actor who was playing John the Baptist.
Yeah, he definitely comes across as the wild guy that you hear about in the Gospel. So, and if you looked at the two of them and which one is more religious, you would probably say Nicodemus, but really it was John that had the right of it, who knew what was going on, knew what these signs were meaning. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and so Nicodemus is trying to figure out how Mary had these demons cast out of her, reflecting back on that first episode. And when Nicodemus starts talking to John the Baptist, I mean, he's excited, and he makes this comment that since he's doing these miracles in secret, then he's going to go public pretty soon.
Yeah.
And Nicodemus,
it's coming.
John the Baptist gets so excited, he's just he just can't wait to see. And then, of course, we go to the wedding feast at Cana, and this is recorded in John's Gospel, the first public miracle that Jesus performs at a wedding feast. And I love how it's all set up. And again, all the details are not included in the Gospels, but a great feast. There's the two families. The mother of the bride seemed to be more humble as far as financially, and then you've got the contrast with the parents of the groom. Do I have that right? Is that how you understood it as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Parents of the groom seem to be, they've got the money, and so, they want to impress. They want this to be a nice celebration, and so part of that is providing the wine. And as we know the story, the wine runs out, and this is a very humiliating situation for the hosts. And then we have Mary and Jesus interacting again.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah, I mean, in the Gospels, it's almost a little strange because, Jesus says, my time has not yet come, but then he ends up doing it. So I thought this kind of almost gave a glimpse of how that could be possible, that he said his time had not yet come, but then he, thought about it, and it seems like prayed about it, considered it, and made the decision that, yes, this is going to be when I reveal myself to the public for the first time. So, and doing that as kind of a gift to this family friend, and it was neat.
Yeah, and Mary, of course, approaches Jesus, and Jesus says, "My time has not yet come," and she says to him, "If not now, when?"
Yeah.
If not now, when? And that reflects back to what Jesus said to Mary back at the temple. Do you remember that?
No, okay.
Yeah. So it's like that's what Jesus said to his mother.
Okay.
Is this all starting?
Yeah.
Because he's in the temple teaching.
Okay.
And Jesus said to his mother, if not now, when? And then Mary uses those same words to Jesus, and he says, yeah, I guess. It really, this has always been perplexing because Jesus kind of changes his mind, it seems. And I think it reveals that Jesus is willing to kind of feel out the situation and react maybe a little differently. Kind of his humanity too.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a little confused about when to come out in public too.
Yeah. I mean, he has human emotions that he could have, compassion for this situation and decide to act when that may not have been his plan coming to the wedding. And we see that a lot in the Gospels, Jesus just being moved by his compassion to heal someone, or so it's not like Jesus said on July 7th I'm going to start doing these miracles.
He's responsive to the situation. I think he has an overall plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as he carries out that overall plan, he's sensitive to different situations, which is I think it speaks a lot to discipleship. I mean, we have an overall plan, but to be aware of certain situations where we can be more vocal about our belief or just respond and be aware of those things. In that whole situation, at the end of the, Jesus turns the water into wine. The wine that he makes is superior to the wine that was brought by the people in charge of that.
And I love that. In the beginning, they said how that wine, the first wine, was really great. And then Jesus's was even better than that really great wine.
And so the host of the wedding, I can't believe this. This is so unlikely. But and then the joy that Jesus brings to that wedding feast and the relief that he brings to that couple and even to his mother Mary. I think that's a picture of the gospel. That Jesus has come to bring joy into our lives even greater than the joy that we would expect. This was better wine than we thought. And I think Jesus, when we really, follow him and embrace him, then, that joy will exceed anything that we can even expect in our lives. Yeah. One other, he's gathering the apostles. Thomas is brought into this. This is not in the Bible, how Thomas became a follower, but Thomas is the guy who's in charge of the wine, and he's measuring everything out, and you can see his personality, even at the beginning where he's doubting and questioning, and so that's kind of neat how they introduced Thomas into the story as well. But
one thing I thought was neat about the way he's calling the apostles is how he kind of gives each of them like a metaphor that applies to their occupation or their personality. Like, the most famous one is to Peter and Andrew, I'm going to make you fishers of men, because they were fishermen. And Peter's like, I don't even know what that means, but I'm excited about it. But then I think it's Thaddeus, the other apostle that's there, who, they say that he was a stone cutter, and Jesus told him that he was going to build a kingdom stronger than stones, or I forget how he says it. And then for Thomas, I'll teach you new ways to measure, new ways to count. And, those aren't in the Bible, but I thought it was neat just how Jesus gave them a real life example of the way that they were used to thinking, what they were used to doing, and use that to tie them in, bring them in, and share something about the kingdom. And how every different occupation, there's something that Jesus can point to about the way that you think about your occupation, and how we can use those kind of metaphors in our life too, that to share with other people.
And that's certainly in keeping with the way Jesus teaches.
Right.
I mean, he just uses things all around us, and he says, this is what the kingdom of heaven is like. So, all right. Well, we don't want to keep you too long, and again, man, this is exceeding my expectations and really bringing me into that story. So join us on Wednesday nights at 6:30. We'll be back next Wednesday. We're going to be in the atrium because we have CTW starting this next week. We have our night practices, and then the day camp will be the week following that. But come on out, join us, and experience this together. If you can't do that, if you've fallen behind, then jump online, just search for The Chosen, and it's free to watch, and I think you'll really be blessed by watching this series. Well, Cina, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you next week. God bless.